Hello and welcome to Simple French Cooking. My name is Francois and welcome. Today I'm going to teach you how to make country sausages the way they do in rural France. It's just a simple ground pork sausage seasoned with a little bit of 4 épices or 4 spice. The closest equivalent in America would be like an Italian sausage, just ground pork, fat, seasoned up a certain way, and that's it. Anyways, anybody can make this. Let's get to it. Alright, the very first step is to take your hog casings and soak them in warm water for about half an hour. Next, you want to cut your meat into 1-inch thick slices, and then we're going to take each of the slices and in turn cut them into strips that will comfortably fit inside your grinder. And you just want to go through and do this with all of your pork shoulder and then all of the pork belly as well. And in the old days, they used to chop all the meat completely by hand. If you could imagine what kind of task that would be. Now, depending on what grinder attachment, I've had this one, I don't know, for like 30 years. I mean, it just keeps working. It's got a couple cracks in it, but it works great, and you need to have the tube that goes on the end for later on when we put the casing on and to stuff the sausage. Now some people like to freeze the meat a little bit before to make it easier to grind. I find it works just fine this way. So you just want to grind coarsely one time all of your meat and your pork belly. And at the end, I like to run a piece of saran wrap through. It just pushes any meat inside out and it makes it much easier to clean. Just look, there's no meat stuck in the tube, and if you've made sausage before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's important to weigh the salt for your sausages. Generally, it's about a 2% of the total weight of the meat in salt. And you really need to do this by the gram. These scales are available at like any large grocery store should have them, and it makes it easy to convert between ounces and grams. You don't even have to think. So in this case, for 4 pounds of meat, we need 40 grams of salt. It's always a trick just to get exactly to 40 grams. And then just season with a little bit of your 4 spice or 4 épices. Now, part of the flavor of this sausage comes from adding a generous pour, about half a cup of red wine. I use a full flavored Cabernet because I want that kind of fruity flavor added to the wine, added to my sausages. Now once you have all of your spices, your black pepper, your 4 spice, salt, your wine, just mix it really well, and when it starts to stick together and form a cohesive thing, then you've mixed it enough. Alright, now run some warm water inside each of the hog casings that you're going to be using. And this is just to rinse off any residual salt or anything that might be on it. I find oiling the tube just a hair makes the casing slide over it a little bit easier. And you want to be very careful not to break the casing. Just slide it over very, very gently until you have the entire length of the casing wrapped over the tube. And you want to leave just a couple inches at the end, which you'll tie later on. Alright, now it's time to start making your sausages. So just slowly add your ground meat mixture into the feeder tube and push it down. I like to have the motor on medium speed. That way it just goes nice and slow and easy to handle. And don't shove too much down at once, but you want to keep kind of a constant pace so your sausage ends up about the same diameter as it's coming out. And you see, it's pretty easy. You can make these sausages in 5-10 minutes at max. All right, so once you have your whole strand just stretched out in front of you, and then just squeeze off like 6-inch sections, and then just twist it and to make the individual links. Later on, we're going to be air drying the sausages, and when you do that, the links will stick together. And then it's really important to take a sharp needle and just poke the sausage to let out any air bubbles. This will help keep it from popping. Oh my God, look at these beautiful, beautiful sausages. And really, you can flavor them any way you like. I mean, you could add ground fennel, hot peppers, garlic, whatever you want. This is just a basic, simple country sausage. So normally, I like to prick the skin like with a needle, a safety pin, or just the tip of a knife to let out any air. And then I let it just dry in my refrigerator, a minimum of 1 day, but really it's better 2 to 4 days. But anyways, now let's cook these guys. So you could just throw these on a grill if you want. But what I'm gonna do today is make pommes lyonnaise or potatoes lyonnaise style, which is just really sauteed potato slices with tons of onions, a little bit of garlic and thyme. And I'm gonna cook it with these sausages. It's gonna be delicious. All right, now let's make the potatoes lyonnaise. So we're just gonna boil about 7 medium-sized potatoes, add a couple cloves of garlic and salt, just like you'd boil any other potatoes. And I happen to be making chicken stock at the same time, so I decided to cook my potatoes and sausages in chicken broth. And since the broth was hot, I could just drop the sausage links right in. Now I like to cook the sausages, simmer them for, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes, just till they're firm and mostly cooked. In the meantime, let's saute some onions. So we're gonna chop like 3 onions. Now I know that sounds like a really large number of onions, but anytime you see a dish lyonnaise, it usually has lots of onions. And because the area is known for onions that grow, that's where French onion soup originated. At any rate, so we are going to be using 3 onions, and I like to use sweet onions. I just feel like they caramelize better, they have a better flavor, a little bit less acidic. It's a personal preference. All right, so take your sausages out of the broth when they're done, because the potatoes are almost certainly not cooked enough. And then I have some pork fat here that I'm going to be cooking my onions in, but you could just use butter if you like. And then I know this pan looks like it's overcrowded, but remember, onions have a lot of moisture and it will cook off, and this will actually end up to be far less onions in that pan than what it looks like right now. Now I like to season it. I use a little Pimentéville sea salt. Pimentéville is an American-grown espelette. Fantastic, smoky, sweet flavor. I love it. All right, now I'm just gonna add a ladle or 2 of the broth that I poached the sausages in, mainly because I want the onions to be soft and tender and have flavor. All right, now that the potatoes are par cooked, that means a knife goes into them easily, but they're not fully cooked because we're still going to saute these guys and just cut them in nice thick slices. You know, you could peel it if you want. You don't have to peel it if you don't want. Alrighty, let's put a little bit of butter in a pan, and we're gonna cook our potatoes in here. The butter is gonna make it nice and crispy and give it a wonderful flavor. While the butter is melting, let's just grate a little bit of fresh nutmeg into the onions. You know, potatoes, onions, nutmeg, great combination. Nice sweet spice flavor to it. All right, let's just give that a good toss to mix it up. And first, I'm gonna brown my sausages in the same butter that I will cook my potatoes, and just looking to give it a good, light brown color to it. When you get that, just pull it out. And then we're going to be adding all of our potato slices. And this is a rustic country dish, and so I'm trying to use fewer pans than I might if I were cooking in a restaurant application. And it's important, just look at that nice brown color. Now we're going to add our caramelized onions. Just make sure you scrape them all out. Oh, it just smells heavenly. You can't even imagine until you cook this at home. What a wonderful country dish this is. All right, and I'm just adding a ladle or two of the sausage poaching broth, and that's just gonna help the potatoes kind of finish cooking. In the meantime, let's chop a little bit of parsley just for garnishing with. All right, let's sprinkle it in our potatoes. And then, for the table, I'm just gonna put the sausages around the bowl, and it's ready to serve. Super easy dish to make, lots of flavor. This is French comfort food right here. Give it a try, you're gonna love this dish. I mean, look how beautiful that is. Oh my God, that smells so good. So thank you very much for joining me today, learning how to make some country sausages and potatoes lyonnaise. This recipe will be in the descriptions. If you like the video, please subscribe, it means a lot. Please like the video, and thanks so much for watching.